What's up? Yeah. So look, man, I'm gonna play you a little song some friends of mine wrote back in the '60s. I was kind of late to the party. You know, Summer of Love, 1969. I was about 7 months old, I guess. I got here as soon as I could. Came 6 weeks ahead of when they expected me. But, you know, a lot had already gone down, and I wanted to be part of the revolution, man. But the revolution's still going on, you know. But even as a youngster, I was in the mix. They used to put me in jail every night. They called it a crib. And my jailer, we used to call her Mom, Mommy sometimes. She said, before I could even walk, I was taking off my diaper with the cloth diaper with the safety pins because she wanted to be a hippie, man. And I flipped myself out of my crib, jail, prison, and then make my way down the stairs, trying to get out. I had a little car. I called it the Wheel. I was a little older when I could talk. But I used to make art, man, you know, with whatever was available. A lot of it coming from my body. I don't think the jailer was too happy about that, but we became friends later in life, and, you know, now we can laugh about it. But anyway, I just want to play some songs for you. It's the new moon tomorrow morning. Probably this morning when you see this. Because, you know, us old hippies, man, we can have a hard time with that technology business. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this stuff live. So it actually sounds alright for you. But I'm going to talk about the new moon, and I'm going to talk about the revolution. Because guess what? The 60s didn't die, man. It just went underground. So I want to play a song that some friends of mine, David Crosby, Stephen Stills, and Graham Nash wrote. I always liked this song. All right. Got out of town on a boat going to Southern Islands. Sailing reaching for the following sea. She was making golden trades on the outside. Downhill run to Papa Hill. On this wind, on this heading, like the Marquesas. Got headed feet of the waterline. Nicely making way, yeah. Noisy bar in Evelyn, I tried to call you. But on a midnight watch I realized like twice you ran away. Think about how many times ever calling. Spirits are using me. Voices calling, what heaven for you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world looking for that woman, girl. Knows love. When you see the Southern Cross for the first time, you understand now why you came this way. 'Cause the truth that you might be running from is so small, as big as the promise, yeah, promise of the coming day. So I'm sailing for tomorrow, my dreams are dying. Love is an anchor tied to you, tied with a silver chain. Got my shield and all the flags are flying. But she is all that I have left to me. Music is her name, yeah. Think about how many times I had fun calling. Spirits are using me, loud voices calling. What heaven are you and me? Can I be forgotten? I have been around the world, looking for that woman, those love can handle. And you know that it will. Yeah, you know it will. When you see the Southern Cross for the first time, you understand now why you came my way. 'Cause the truth that you may be running from is so small. But it's a day as the promise, yeah, promise of a coming day. So we cheated and we lied and we tested. Never failed to fail, it was the easiest thing to do, yeah. You will survive being bested. Someone fine will come along, make me forget about loving you, yeah. In the Southern Cross, in the Southern Cross. Oh man, those guys knew what they were doing, you know. They could write and they could sing. So, yeah, man, just wanted to check in with you and just say, come on, don't give up on the revolution. My man, my grown-up self, because this is sweet Baby Dee right here. Can you believe I could play like this at 7 months old, 9 months old? That's crazy, right? But man, we came in with the special DNA, and it's time to reclaim our humanity, our human potential from these clowns, man, these clowns. And you know, in the 60s, man, we were like, we thought we had it, you know, and then maybe we did too many drugs. I don't know. I don't think so. Some of us did, but not most of us. But you know, the government came in with the clampdown and got co-opted and all of that. But guess what? Now we see who's behind all of it. And that's what my man is going to reveal. So stay tuned. All right. Hey, everybody. Let's give it up to sweet Baby Dee. That kid can play. I'm telling you. So yeah, I want to expand on what my boy's talking about there. So the Scorpio New Moon, Saturday morning. New moon's always time to let go of the old, tune into the new. And the degree symbol in John Sandbach's Omega and Chandra symbols, which I've been a big fan of since I discovered them through Hair in the Moon astrology, Lorna Bevan, whom I'm also a big fan of. I think she's the best weekly astrologer out there right now. She turned me on to the Chandra symbols, and then I've been reading John Sandbach's old blog, And he's got listings, I think, for all the degrees. So the degree for Scorpio 27th degree of Scorpio, where the new moon is on Saturday morning at 6:42 a.m., I think, Eastern time, is at a country fair. Some people are clothed, others are nude, all wear flowers. How 60s, how beautiful. How New Orleans, if New Orleans was out in the country. So the degree angel, and I don't know how to pronounce these, and I'm not sure exactly what these degree angels are, but the key words for the degree angel are eradicate plague and ardent desire to learn. And Sandbach says, love and joy and a deep connection with nature are of this degree. It has the ability to bring primitive elements back into society, elements that are warming and emoting and very enriching. It accepts life as it is and people as they are, and is looking to create a celebrational communion wherein all people can be themselves with no sense of threat or feeling that they need to conform. How cool would that be, right? The Chandra symbol for this degree is 3 blue robin eggs. In Kabbalah, 3 is the number of Jupiter, the planet of growth, enthusiasm, and generosity. So Jupiter, as you know, is in Scorpio, along with Venus, the 2 lucky planets of the zodiac. And blue is the color of Sagittarius, the sign of transcendence and of perceiving the wholeness of life. These 3 robin eggs signify a vision of the wholeness and completeness of life expressed purely and simply. All difficulties, all obstructions and frustrations are seen through or brushed aside by this vision of the completeness of life. And we're going to take a pause and recognize one of our sponsors for the show. Oh, she got away. Yeah, we got some weird sponsors. They think they're normal. She probably heard that. Okay, so that's really interesting right there to me. And I'm going to explain more about why in a moment. This degree accepts what is hidden, the bodies of the clothed people in the Omega symbol, as well as what is revealed, the nude people. The flowers they wear are their loves and joys, and this is what unites them. It seems that this degree cannot be negative. At worst, it might only lie unused within one's being. But even at that, like the robin eggs, it will inevitably hatch, and its birth can be the antidote to much negativity. So that's pretty exciting. Not usually what we associate with the deep, brooding, dark, secretive, sometimes magnetic sign of Scorpio. But we're at the very end of Scorpio. We're almost into Sagittarius, which is sort of this upbeat, optimistic, no matter how bad the odds are, we're going to break through and win this thing somehow. Rising boat lifts all tides. Further, going, where no man or woman has ever gone before. And that's the eagle or the phoenix level of Scorpios. Once Scorpio has gone into the depths of the soul and understood how it has been creating the reality that it's been experiencing, and kind of faced the demons, faced the dragon, slain the dragon, faced the monsters in the psyche, integrated the shadow, then Scorpio becomes this incredibly benevolent, wonderful energy. And if you've been following me for any time at all, Scorpio is one of my favorite signs. So great new beginning, great place to set your intentions wherever 27 degrees Scorpio is in your chart. So in your solar chart, your sun sign chart, so I'm a Pisces, you can just count from whatever your sign is, and that'll tell you what house. So the life area that this new moon is activating. So for Pisces, it's 9th house. For Leo, it's 4th house. For Gemini, it's 6th house, so work and service. For Capricorn, it's 11th house, hopes and dreams for the future, your community, your friends. So you can figure that out, start at your sign and count till you get to Scorpio. And then in your natal chart, you're going to have to look at what house 27 degrees Scorpio falls into. But wherever that is, we got a really apparently positive new beginning happening. So, it can be dark right before the new moon and right around the new moon, but in that darkness of going within, we find the answers that we're seeking and the inspiration for, hopefully, for the next phase of our journey, and definitely what we need to let go of. So I want to go back to this sentence that all difficulties, all obstructions and frustrations are seen through or brushed aside by this vision of the completeness of life. So look, it's been a tough year, right? For a lot of us. I mean, the disasters, the shootings, which are disasters. And disaster literally means to go against or at odds with the stars, with the prevailing energy. And at the same time, I stand by something I said in January or February of this year, that this could go down as the greatest year of our lifetimes. I know for me, I suspect for me, this is one of those years I'm going to look back on my deathbed and see the truth of that. And why? Because this is the year that I finally saw through the false reality. And so, I want to make some polarizing statements here. But I'm speaking to you, you'll know if I'm speaking to you, and the rest of you have a nice time in the Matrix. Seriously, go with blessings. A lot of stuff that I've intuited, I've read about, I've thought about a lot over the years, but I just was afraid to go there, or as I'm talking about in my Book of Spells group. And if you missed this one, I really hope you can join us in January. We're going to do it again. Man, this work is so powerful, and it's kind of mind-blowing. It's kind of scary, in the beginning for some people. But the actual process of it itself is not scary, because all we're doing is we're seeing what we already know, right? Which is lots of ways that you can tell this story, but we're living in the story where we're taught to believe that there's something wrong with us, that we're weak, that we're powerless, that we should be ashamed of who we are. And that's how children are domesticated in our society, through shame. And there's healthy shame and there's toxic shame. And unfortunately, or be that as it may, maybe fortunately, because we wouldn't have the impetus and the such a strong desire to wake up otherwise, we come along at a time where that shaming is pretty much as strong as it's ever been, right? Because not only do we get it in our family system, we are immersed in it 24/7 with media, with the internet, with magazines, newspapers, television, Netflix, whatever. There's this constant reinforcement of the message that you're not good enough the way you are, that you need more, you need, or, if you're been told that you're fat, you need less, right? And we all have our central core life drama, and that's clearly reflected in our astrological charts. So, one of my dramas is money, and I've just sucked at making money in this lifetime. Luckily I got blessed by Venus and I'm rich, out of the blue, but, so miracles do happen, but, it's still a place where, there's just this really deep shame, and some of that shame gets passed on from ancestors. We imbibe it directly in the womb, from mom and dad, from the people around us. And that's all a total lie. It's so crazy. The shame is a lie, and the toxic shame, it's the reason that we have such a hard time dealing with it is it was never ours in the first place. So this is the revolution, and this is what the 60s were starting to get at, and what my child self there, who came on in the beginning, what he was saying is something that Marilyn Ferguson talks about in her great book, The Aquarian Conspiracy, which is that the 60s revolution didn't die. the real leaders of that revolution saw what was going on with the counter repression force from government and from, the what I'm calling the parasite, so the inorganic entities that have colonized humanity for thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, tampered with our DNA long time ago to make us a slave species, and now are pretty much content to just control us through the mind, through the thoughts. But Ferguson, says that the real leaders of the 60s revolution, they saw what was happening, and so they did go underground, but they didn't stop. They just realized that if I don't work on my own personal reality, then anything that I'm doing out in public is going to end up being counterproductive. So, most of you watching this are probably familiar with the idea that our thoughts create our reality, that each of us is sort of the creator of our own universe, and that the consensus reality, what we call reality, is really just a mass hallucination. It's an agreed upon way of interpreting energy. So now we're at the point where it really feels, number one, that the time is right for us to wake up. And I've talked about that in many blog posts and videos, so you can look through my site if you want to see that. It also feels that the urgency is there, as we look around at what's happening in society and all of these things that we've known about. I mean, come on, the sex stuff, the sex scandals, the Me Too stuff, with both for women on a personal level. I mean, who doesn't know that women are systematically sexually abused, right? And it's not just women, but I mean, come on, who's got their head so deep in the sand they don't know about that? We just don't talk about it, right? And who doesn't know that a lot of politicians are total sleazebags, right? And actors and entertainers, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there's a lot more that's going to come out about Hollywood and politics. And the next level of that, I think, is going to come out in 2018 when Saturn goes into Capricorn. But that's for another time. What I just want to tell you is you have nothing to be ashamed of. Everything that you've blamed yourself for your whole life, none of it was your fault. None of it's your fault. And it's time to wake up and see the matrix for what it is. And yeah, that's scary. And at the same time, this time, post-2012, there's so much cosmic support for us to wake up together. And I don't believe we can do it on our own. I believe we need each other. Because our enemy is, as the Bible says, is very subtle and sneaky, and it doesn't want to let go of its parasitic, infestation of your thoughts, because that's what it feeds on, and so all these dramas that are, some people think, being manufactured, regardless, the news media is definitely amplifying all of this to the nth degree. And those of us who are sensitive, we feel it. We feel each one, not only because of the disaster itself, because I know a lot of my sensitive clients like me don't watch the news. We rely on our partners or our family or whoever to kind of tell us what's going on, what we need to know. But we feel it in the people around us. And it's like, as Safia, who's co-hosting the Book of Spells webinars with me, said to me the other day, she said, this is the parasite loves the holidays. It's like it lives all year for this time of year, because it's just, everything just gets so amplified, and we got the family stuff and the consumerism, and people are just freaking out. And so even if you're not personally freaking out, as a sensitive, you're feeling it. And we were just laughing. We're like, yeah, it's like the parasite, the collective egoic mind, whatever you want to call it. It's like a business, that makes 80% of its money at the holiday season. So it's like, woohoo, bring it on. See through. We can do this. For those of you who are out there and you've been spending years doing your spiritual path and you still haven't found that relationship you're looking for, or you still just feel overloaded with debt, broke, or struggling with health problems, you're not a failure. None of that is your fault. And just recognizing that, just seeing that, not only is it impossible to win a rigged game, so it's impossible to live up to the expectations that your mom or your dad or your partner, who's like totally hooked into the parasitic matrix, may have for you. Just by virtue of being somebody who's doing your spiritual work, you're also more of a target. So that can be scary, but at the same time, this is a call to action. This is the revolution. Are you going to sit there and take it? Are you going to sit there and take it from your family, from your friends, from all the people who think you should be doing something with your life, or by your age you should have money in the bank, and not be like some itinerant hobo? Whatever your situation is, are you going to how long can you lie there and take it before you just get angry and say, we're talking about healthy, righteous, Black Moon Lilith, cleansing anger, where you get empowered and you stand up and you say, no, I'm not living in the matrix. I am still, right? Because I'm still here. But I'm going to be in it, but not of it. And I'm going to find out how I can free myself. And again, we need to work with each other, because we need each other to kind of help us stay awake and stay aware, and help us just be encouraged, really, is the big thing. Because especially when you start trying to catch this thing, it's going to come after you like bam. It's like, oh, it's going to throw all the stuff at you. And that's my theory on why we've had just disaster after disaster after disaster in 2017, is that a lot of people are starting to wake up. And it doesn't take the whole world. It just takes a small percentage of people to get it, and to really start seeing through, and to start recognizing that, we do have incredible, if not unlimited, potential. We can fly, we can time travel, we are amazing creations. So the parasites are throwing everything they have into this war that we're engaged in, whether we want to admit it or not, because they're just hoping to shock and awe us back into our kind of comas of, spiritual new age victimhood or whatever. So screw them, man. I'm not, we're not going for that. We're not going to let them win. We've already won, is what I'm trying to say. But I want you to win on a personal level too. I want you to be happy and healthy and rich and abundant and loved and loving and creative and expansive. So we need each other for that. Real quick, I'm going to try to find this book. And then I'm going to play you a song or two. So it's a great book called Tuning the Human Biofield by Eileen McCusick. I did a reading for Eileen once after getting like 3 hours sleep and a flight to Vermont, and she's really cool. I had no idea like how cool of a scientist and visionary she is. I'd never heard of her at the time, but after meeting her, I got her book, and I just was reading this section last night, and I think this is just such a great expression of it. It's entitled, You Are Worthy. When I first started working with tuning forks, I was very surprised to discover that underneath every person's noise is a harmonic signal. And when that signal came through clearly, the person was what I can only describe as great. I kept coming home and saying to my husband, that person I worked on today was great. I always tell my wife that. She's like, how'd your reading go? I'm like, oh man, it was great. That person was just fantastic. She's like, you never say you have a bad reading. I'm like, remember that one time in 2009? Yeah. Anyway, I kept being somewhat astounded to discover this in virtually everyone. Reflecting on my surprise made me realize that I had always just assumed, based on what I had been taught, that humans were imperfect, that we were fallen from grace, that we were fatally flawed somehow. Our Christian cosmology, even in our supposedly secular culture, and by the way, it's not just Christian, it's pretty much every religion, had wormed its way into my brain and formed a subconscious belief that I was a guilty sinner. Even though I was actually raised in a religion-free home, the ubiquitous story of Adam and Eve and how they blew it, especially her, had apparently shaped my thinking without me realizing it. So here I was, surprised to see that this was not true, that here was the potential of perfect harmony, an aspect of humanness that was not out of sync with the universe, not out of step with nature, but actually quite in sync, beautifully, pleasingly, even jaw-droppingly in sync. I have never worked on anyone who does not have this harmonic potential. Time to wake up, get back to our perfection, which is just who we are.